Okay.
48-hour art check. Sick as a dog edition.
All right, there we go.
48-hour art check. Oh, good. I
Right.
forgot
Dog
to turn
edition.
Give me the echo. There we go.
All right. So just so the listeners and folks at home are aware, like, we're doing this one day later because initially I was feeling kind of just exhausted and wiped out, and was like, "Can we just push it till tomorrow?" And then it turns out I was actually getting kind of sick.
And then
Um,
because I'm super competitive, I tried to one up you.
Yeah, and then so Corey got hit with something like twice as bad as the sick I've been feeling, and so we are having a sick day edition. So we're gonna kind of power through it and do our art check because we believe in the 48-hour art check, but it will be
Yeah.
short and brief.
Yeah. Mainly because I don't know how either of us could make it too much longer. So
Exactly, but we really do like enjoy the community and stuff like that. But we're gonna get going on this and see
yeah.
what we can do.
Okay.
So, all right. Outside of feeling sick and terrible, what all did you get done in the last a little over 48 hours?
I got this 3 or 4 seconds animated, and so that's looking pretty good. I also have another section of it ready to go, and so I've got a little bit left. I'll probably wrap this up this week. But yeah, I like how it turns out, and I made a couple tweaks on it from the animatic that made it work a lot better. So
Yeah, that looks amazing. I love the like wobble of the view on the screen.
yeah,
And the way the robot arm is working is really cool to see all the components put together. Because I think the last check we saw like each individually doing its own thing, but it's neat to see them all kind of working as united components. It looks cool.
yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
So how about you? What did you get done?
So I finished the last page of quarterly stories, and then I did this thumbnail. So that's pretty much where I'm at, which is pretty much where I was expecting to be at. And then, yeah, so that's pretty much it. At the thumbnailing stage, it's just kind of working it out roughly. That's
Yeah.
my kid in the background.
Hi,
He's up
Benji.
way past his bedtime.
Yeah.
Oh, Pepper in the chats said that looks great. I think she's talking about the animation that you showed earlier. Yeah, I agree. It does look rad.
Yeah. So do you start with a marker stage, right? Like a 50% gray or something?
Yeah, like with my thumbnails, yeah, I just lay
Yeah.
out like a really, like in this case, it's just like a little blue Copic,
Uh-huh.
and the tones I like to use are like blue, gray, or like a brown, like a sepia kind of tone. So those are kind of my preferences.
Yeah. I like that. That's a cool way of doing it. Yeah. So for challenges, pretty obvious. I'll give you some details without getting too gross. I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning and was violently ill for about 17 hours. Feeling a little bit better now than I was earlier, but I'm still pretty weak. But I'm able to walk now. I was kind of crawling around the house earlier, so there's just literally nothing that I could do. I'll probably put in a few minutes after this, but I don't think I'll be able to do too much.
Aw. Adam in the chats, just to clarify to him, he said, "Did you say the last page of quarterly stories? I wish it was like the very last, but I just meant the last as in the past, the one I've been working on. I wish it was the last page. That would be amazing."
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. And then Pepper clarified she liked the thumbs too. So thank you, Pepper. But I do feel like that animation kind of trumps the the thumbs. That animation looks awesome.
Just because it's at a different stage of production, but
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, my struggle's just the same thing. Don't really even need a timer on it. Just feeling sick and getting a lot of sleep, and trying to trying to like hang out with the kid and get some holiday time in. I will say, as just like a plus side kind of struggle or challenge is just uh we had like a Christmas party at work and I got a decent Christmas bonus, which is huge. So that's going to be really helpful because my wife and I have had a really tight end of the year, and so that's good.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's great news.
yeah.
So for plans, I'm going to turn this back on. This scene has a number of compositions in it, if you know what how After Effects works. And so this composition has like 4 or 5 nested compositions. And then I'm going to place this in a bigger nested composition to have the rest. So I'm going to start editing things together. My main plan is before I'm going to shoot for this. I don't know if this is possible given my current state, but I'm going to get the tentacles and the ink animated. So there's in the animatic, there's like ink that shoots out of the sky and hits the TV and then drips down and then
Yeah.
turns into tentacles. And I think I figured out how I want to do it. And so we'll try that out and see if it works. In my mind, it works just fine. So we'll see if I'm right.
Nice. I'm excited. That's an ambitious plan considering,
Yeah.
but I'm excited to see you get there. Um, yeah, my plans are just basically to work on uh, the like starting to do the rough layouts and lettering
Uh-huh.
for sorry, for the next page of quarterly stories that I thumbnailed today, and then that's where I'd like to be, maybe having a really rough thumbnail as well. So that's where I'd like to be.
Cool.
Tim in the chat said he loves what you're doing too, which is kind of rad. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it'll be fun. I think it'll be worth it. And I rigged it. I actually re-rigged that arm because I had done it before and it worked, but it was hard to work with. And so my intention is to use this as an asset in a couple different things. And so I deleted everything I did and started over. And so now it works really well and it's rigged really well. I should show you guys that at some point. But the way that I rigged it was pretty cool. So now I'm planning, after I get this one done, doing some lower third animations as well. So this will be kind of the
Sweet.
intro bumper, and then at the end I'll kind of have the robot arm like pull title sequences on and things.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
yeah, and I haven't quite figured out exactly how that'll function, but I'll be able to figure it out. So that was worth the effort. It did take me like an extra 6 hours to like re-rig it all and reanimate it, because like I got it to the point where it looks like it does now, but it just wasn't like functional for like another animation. So
Yeah.
I redid
Yeah.
it. So now
Man.
now it's a much better working model. So
And I think that speaks well to just the idea of like if something's not working, it's okay to kind of redo it, because you've learned so much in the process. Like we've talked about multiple times on this, like
yeah,
some people, especially when they're early on, will be like, well, it's good enough, or others might be like, well, it's just not working out, so I quit.
yeah,
And just powering through that and making it work, it's like you end up with something that's really cool looking and learning like 20 things along the way that you can apply to a million other projects later on. So that's huge.
yeah.
Yeah, Tim likes the idea, I think, of the assets being pulled and stuff. So that's cool.
Cool.
All right. Do we want to brave a topic?
Yeah, let's try one. Let's try a topic. I don't know that I've got the energy to have this be podcast worthy, but we got a bunch of people in the chat, so I think we should talk about something. But let me see if I can do this. Can I? Yeah, let me show you this real fast. Oh, I'll have to open that. I thought it was already open. While that's opening, we can get started. I was going to show you the rig. It's kind of cool. Yeah,
Nice.
it's open now, so let me show you. All right, so here's this. There's all my little guys. All right, let's go. Why isn't this going away? Give me robot arm upper. We'll open that up and then go to. So if I go to robot arm full, And here. And there we go. All right. So we'll go to one view. So the cool thing about this is that each of these is rigged. So I'm going to do this, but I'm going to undo it. But I can grab any part of this and the rest of the arm moves.
Oh, sweet.
Right. And so it's not just coming in and articulating each one of these. Like everything in this reacts to everything else.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so that was really hard to figure out. But once I figured it out, it's pretty slick. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I don't normally get excited about stuff that I do, but I'm pretty excited about like where that ended up. Now I can't find it. There we go. Let me turn this back here. So anyway, so yeah, that was kind of fun to get that working.
Huge.
Yeah.
Dude, that's going to be really valuable too, because you can pretty much, make it function like a robot arm, and you can put it wherever you want it to be, and it's still going to function.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And I can just like, Tim says I should have one of the arms squish one of the bugs. That'd be kind of funny to have it kind of chase it or something. But yeah, I can literally just drag it over there, and instead of having to articulate each point, there's like 3 points out of the 12 different joints that it has. There's 3 points that are like main points that'll move the rest of the arm.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can kind of do it whatever you want. You can kind of make it do whatever you want, which is cool.
That's huge.
Okay, what topic should we have?
Oh man.
Anybody in the chat have a preference?
Any questions you guys have in the chats that you want us to address while we're trying to think of something? I mean, off the top of my head, I could definitely say kind of dealing with out of control circumstances like getting sick.
Yeah.
I like, for me, we can just riff on that until if somebody wants to do a chat or whatever.
Yeah.
But like for me, like the thing that was really difficult today was like actually getting to the art table and getting it done. And I did, but it's just especially when your head isn't like 100% in it, it's very hard. And I'm imagining it's going to be equally hard because my son's sick too. So tomorrow it's me and him just being sick because my wife is going to visit a friend's newborn, which, it's like, that's awesome. But it's going to be really hard tomorrow to kind of like stick to it and hit my daily thing. But I think we've talked about that on here before, but I think it's really important as a creative to like build these habits where you're working on stuff daily.
Yeah.
And when you hit these unforeseen circumstances, like even yesterday, actually, I didn't do so well and didn't get a lot done. And it was partially from that Christmas party because there was a lot of organizing and craziness outside of that I had to do at work. And by the time I got home, I was just like wiped.
Yeah.
And so it's like one of those things where just trying to kind of trying to balance like burnout versus like being responsible and showing up, because like I do feel like you do occasionally need a day or two where you just allow yourself a day off, but I do think it's important like to kind of power through it when life throws you a curveball, because those things are going to keep happening.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it totally does. I remember listening to a podcast, and then there was a conversation on Twitter about the same topic, and it was kind of eye-opening to me. This is when I was first getting back into illustration and comics and stuff, and somebody was talking about professional behavior, and they were saying, hey, like stuff happens, like you're going to be working on something, and your editor is expecting it, and all this stuff, and so then if you get sick. And what I expected her to say was, if you get sick, you can, like call your editor and say, hey, I'm sick. But what she said was, you call your editor and you say, hey, I'm sick, so I'm going to be a little bit slower. And it was an interesting thing that what she was saying was, just because you're sick as a creator, that doesn't mean that you get to like not meet deadlines and not communicate and not produce. It just means that, like, realistically, as a human being, you've got limitations, and so you say,
Yeah.
like today, I'm going to spend some time at the table, but it's not going to be great.
Yeah.
I'll be slow. I know that I'm going to. I know that I'm going to, like, do that thing where you stare at the computer, trying to think of the simplest keystroke for like 5 or 6 seconds, and you're like, oh yeah, it's K, and like I know I'm going to do that about 50 times, and so it's not going to be super productive. But like I made a commitment, and I'm going to put in the time, even though the commitment is to myself. I
Yeah.
made a commitment, and I'm going to put in the time, and I'm going to make progress. And then tomorrow, when I'm feeling better, and the next day when I'm back to like full health and everything, I won't have like lost that momentum. Like I will
Yeah.
still be slowly, like going back to that pedaling up a hill, right? When we were talking, like sometimes you get off the bike and you lean your head on the handlebars and you just slowly push your bike up the hill because you just don't have
Yeah.
anything left to actually do any pedaling, but you're still making some kind of progress.
Yeah.
Um, and then to balance that out with, like, there is a limit. There is a point where you should just go to bed, and you
Yeah.
like there. If you push yourself too hard, it's not great. So I'm not going to spend like 4 hours at the table today. But I'm just going to get some work in, and then as soon as my
Yeah.
body's like, all right, you're done being upright,
Yeah, I
I'm gonna
think that's
call
what
it.
happened to me yesterday was like when I got home, I was literally like seeing double. And so I was like, okay, I gotta just I just gotta call it. I think even when I texted you to say like, oh, we'll do this tomorrow instead of tonight, I
Yeah,
had trouble texting it because I was seeing double letters.
right.
I'm like, okay, at that point, I think it would be foolish for me to like arrive or show up because I'm not going to be of any use to anyone. So
Yeah,
that's like akin to like maybe the day you call out sick from work or whatever.
right.
And similarly, like, with this, it's like, I'm not saying to like power through it every time, but there are times where like today I just wasn't feeling up for it, but at the same time, just showing up made me feel better about myself. And then aside from that, tomorrow I haven't lost momentum because I've kept the habit.
Yeah,
Because if I go 2 days, for me, that's a big one. It's like I can kind of go one day, I can
right.
miss one day.
Yeah,
But if I miss more than one day, it takes like another week or two just to build back that habit,
yeah,
sometimes longer. And so, anyhow, Tim in the chats brought up another topic too that maybe we can just touch on,
yeah.
and keep pretty brief because I think we got maybe like I'm not sure, we don't have the timer, but I'm guessing like 2 or 3 more minutes. Um, so Tim said, as a new artist, what's the best advice on getting my feet wet? I'm thinking of starting an illustrated children's book just as a way of showing my work. Is this a good start? What are your thoughts on that, Corey?
Yeah, I think that's as good a start as any other project. I would always encourage people to choose a project, and the reason is there's a number of reasons, but showing future employers and future clients that you can finish something
Yeah,
that's rare because most people, there's everybody on earth starts stuff. We all start things all
yeah,
the time. There's very few finishers, and so what I would recommend is, we talked about this in the planning episode where we talked about planning, but I would say I wouldn't produce a children's book if you don't want to go into children's book illustration.
yeah,
If you want to go into like character design, doing a children's book isn't a great idea. If you want to go into animation, doing a children's book isn't a great idea. But if you want to go into children's book illustration, then doing a children's book is perfect. So I'd reverse engineer where you want to be in a year, 2 years, 3 years. Like pick a time, and it can be kind of arbitrary, but you just say sometime in the future, I'd like to be this, and I think Josh and I both kind of talked about where we want to be, and then I would reverse engineer that and say, okay, what do those people look like? Those people look like they've got a Caldecott, they've got an Eisner, they've got, and how do you get that? We've got to have a finished comic book. It's got to be good.
yeah,
You've got to have a finished illustration, or a finished illustrated children's book. It's got to be pretty good, and the story's got to be pretty good. And there's some criterion, so I would reverse that. So I think for Tim, I think if you want to get into children's book illustration, which I love that arena. I mean, it's a fantastic market.
yeah.
It's got one of the best um, in art. My personal opinion is I think children's book illustration has one of the best opportunities out there right now, because every 4 years you have a brand new audience, and
Yeah.
you've got buyers with a little bit of disposable income that are willing to spend, and there's like science backing up that the product that you're producing is actually good for their kid.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why children's books outsell a lot of other types of art,
Yeah.
so I personally think that's a great way of doing it. But yeah, having a finished product where you can show something off and say, hey, look, I made this thing, even if it never gets published. Mine still hasn't been published,
Yeah.
but I can say, look, I did this and it's done, it's completed, and it's an impressive feat, and it shows a lot. So what do you think, Josh?
Well, I tend to agree with the idea of doing it, and I really just want to touch a little bit on what you were saying to him, which I think is great advice, which is the idea that only do it if it's something you are passionate about. And Tim just said in the chats he loves children's illustrations, so there we go.
Yeah,
So that to me is a really good sign, because you want to pick something you love. And that goes for any artist and any art endeavor, because the one thing that was always hard when I was teaching students, and even managing employees and stuff, is like getting people to care about what they're doing, because when you don't care, even if you do it really well, there's this weird subtext that you can just read in the work that shows that you don't care. And it's, I guess the best explanation is like, we've all kind of seen like somebody build like a wall, that's beautiful, like it's beautifully done, and it could be like the simplest like brick wall, but like all the masonry is right, and
right.
like you can tell the guy who put it together cared about doing a good job, even if it's that kind of care. um, and then art, like we've all seen things that were attempted, really ambitious, maybe even like crazy walls that are, it's pretty clear that there was like a lack of care going into the construction, even if it's functional. And
Yeah,
so it's one of those things of like, there's just this thing about it, loving something and caring about it that will bring you to another level as an artist. Because if you really care about children's books, then you're going to put your all into trying to level up during the process. And so even if at the end you end up with a bad children's book, at least in that case, you'll end up with a bad children's book that taught you a bunch of stuff that's going to get you better for the next one. You
yeah,
know what I mean? So, like for me, I think that's why it took me till I started doing comics to really level up, because at my heart, my passion is for comics. It's what got me into art in the first place. So I have that love behind what I'm doing, pushing me to kind of like try to push myself further and further in learning new things and stuff like that. So it's much more valuable for me when I do a side project to do something I'm passionate and I care about. So
yeah.
yeah. So Tim, it sounds like you're on the right path, and it sounds like you were saying you have a background working with children. So it's like, I think if you have a heart for that kind of thing, then that is the project. So
Yeah,
my take on it is, who are you going to do a 48-hour or art check while doing the process with? Find somebody to hold you accountable and get it done.
absolutely.
Um,
And I want to say one thing that you brought up, doing something that you love. I've experienced this, and I see this a lot with students that I work with. Um, I think there's a misnomer, there's a misunderstanding out there, that you should automatically know what you're passionate about. You should know what you love. You should know what your calling is. And I don't think that we're like born on this earth and then somebody hands you like a little certificate that says you're passionate about being a children's book illustrator, you're passionate about being a psychologist, you're passionate about carpentry. And so sometimes when students come to me and they're like, I know I should do like a personal project, but I don't know what I care about. I give them this advice, and I don't know if this is good advice or not, but it worked for me. And I just say, like, sit down, turn on some music and like write down like 20 things that you might be interested in. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
And don't rank them at all. Like, just write them down. Just start like free writing, like a bunch of different projects that you might be interested in doing. And then start them all at the same time. And, and work for a few minutes on each one. And then just let yourself naturally drift, and you keep working on stuff. One of those or two of those are going to rise to the top. They're
Yeah.
gonna kind of be the ones where you wake up in the morning, and I've had this experience, and it was weird for me. And then I recognized what was going on, and so I tried to like synthesize that in the advice I give to students, where you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh man, I can't wait for my work to get done, so that I can get home and start this thing, that I can
Yeah.
do this thing. And so like the thing that you start thinking about in your downtime, like when you're commuting or when you're like daydreaming or whatever, there's something there. Whether you want to call that love or passion or caring or whatever, calling. There's something about that, right? And then at that point, I don't think there's any problem ditching 19 of those 20 projects
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
And I
go
think,
and go like full into that one, and you might actually find that that's not for you. Um, but that's valuable information as well. Sorry, what were you gonna
yeah.
say?
No, no, no. I was gonna say I think we're a little over the 15 now. But I do think this love topic is good, and actually, I think we should maybe continue that in our next one,
Yeah,
which I think Scott will hopefully be joining us for. That maybe we can just do like a long dissection of loving what you do, because I think there's just so much tied in with that we can delve into. Because once you've, and that's a good way to arrive at finding something you love. But there's so many like neat things that tie into that we can delve into. So
yeah,
we'll do
absolutely.
that. We'll have to do that probably next time. I'm so excited about everybody who joined us in the chats, and it's neat to see our community kind of building. I think Cory, I think you and I kind of talked, and we're gonna probably make our longer episodes on Mondays,
Yeah,
because that works well for us, and we thought it would be fun because Scott's been joining us on Mondays, so that's like a nice little um, addition to that too. And then Tim last said he loves animation as well, and he got caught up on both. Loses track of time on them when he's working on the two of them, and see that's a really good indicator that you're probably heading in the right direction to pick one of the projects that you love and go all the way with it. Um,
there's a lot of neurological reasons that you lose track of time too that would be interesting to talk about at some point,
oh, I like that too. Losing track of time is a good one.
because
Um,
it's an indicator that you've switched thinking, that you're in a different modality, and it's an important modality to be in. But in that modality, you don't have the ability to process time.
I know, and it's funny because I'm going to make a joke at our own expense, but I think we end up in that modality because we enjoy our conversations
Yeah,
quite a lot. So I think that modality switching happens when we're talking, because it's like we have fun doing these art checks, and so we'll lose track of like of our own limits and stuff on them. So,
yeah.
all right. Speaking of, let's should we wrap it up?
Let's do it.
All right. You want me to read them off?
Yeah, if you
I'll read them
could.
off. So check out Cory's work by going to corykerr.com, and also stay tuned to that because it's just awesome. And he's working on this animation and posts a lot of updates as he's working on it and videos, and it's just really cool. Check out my stuff at quarterlystories.com. And then, oh man, Tim in the chats just mentioned left to right brain switching, which is like a whole other topic that we'll have to bring up on a future one of these. Um, and then, yeah, you can also check out our podcast by going to, do you remember the link off the top of your head, Cory?
CoryKerr.com/48HR.
Yeah, corykerr.com/48hr. And if you're listening to this on iTunes, just make sure you leave us a 4-star ranking and a nice review. And if you haven't checked out the podcast, go to iTunes, subscribe to it. You can also check it out on Stitcher and other apps, but I recommend just go straight to the source and subscribe to it on iTunes. And we will see you guys on Monday.
See ya.